Yeah.
Yeah. So, just to show how much of a novice I am, myself and Filipe there were speaking for 2-3 minutes without realising I hadn't clicked the go live button. So, definitely still getting used to this YouTube thing. So, Portugal are through. That's the main thing to get to announce to be happy with. We didn't do an immediate reaction yesterday because, well, mostly I think people were celebrating the fact that Portugal went through, and also those 90 minutes. Don't think my heart was in the right place, state to be able to go on and sort of impartially talk about what we just witnessed. But Portugal went from first in the group, second in the group to first, dropped down to fourth, back up to third, then went first, dropped back down to second or third, and eventually finished third, which means that Portugal will be playing Belgium in the next round. Not the best fixture in the world, but not the worst fixture in the world as well. And we'll get on to a little bit about the prediction for Belgium, or the preview for Belgium, which takes place on Sunday at 8:00 in Seville in Spain. But just to start off with the France game, Filipe, thoughts during the game? How was the heart?
To be fair, I wasn't too nervous until there was a moment like when you go fourth, when there's like the 2-1 against Germany. In that moment, I thought, oh, these guys are with everything. In that day, I panicked a bit because I was watching like on BBC, and they're like, "Oh, going to show the Germany's goal now." I'd be like, "Okay, that's cool. Like that's good for us." And then straight after, they showed like Hungary's goal as well, and I was like, "Whoa, that's going fast."
Yeah.
In that moment, I panicked a bit, but then I thought, "Come on, like France is happy."
One goal. That was the only thing that scared me, was the fact that obviously with what I said to you before the game, the big game that we want to watch out for and have one eye on is the Germany game, because Hungary this tournament have given it a really, really good go, and yesterday was no exception. And they were really going for. And
I have like this, the saddest thing ever. Do you know how many, like, Hungary are out of the tournament, obviously, but do you know how many minutes were they like losing in a game?
The least amount of any team, wasn't it?
7 minutes like was up like minutes. After Portugal first goal, and they're out. It's like
I saw that on Twitter. They were losing for the least amount of minutes or something for the team to not qualify. It is crazy. And I said they would. That was the game, because I mean at one point Germany were rock bottom, and it was like, because Portugal could have lost 3-0 or lost by a 3-goal margin, but as long as Germany won, it didn't really matter. Germany went behind, and I was thinking anything can happen in this Portugal game. And then when Portugal went 2-1 down, and you're thinking, because at that point Portugal were going home, and then Germany score, and then Hungary scored again, and then I think Germany's second goal was Leon Goretzka, was it? And I thought, That was when I could start to calm down a bit, because I thought whatever happens here, as long as, and that game finished first as well. Yeah. So I'd already saw that was full time, and I think you could see on the TV like the news filtering around. But yeah, it was even lots of neutrals on Twitter and stuff, and saying like, yeah, the Euros has arrived. Obviously, it had to arrive when Portugal was staring down the barrel of going out the tournament. But yeah, the group of death really came to life. No pun intended, but it was what a watch. I mean, I was honestly having palpitations. I was checking heart rate on here, and it was going into the hundreds. I think I sent you a picture of like it, and I was like, yeah, this isn't good. Right, the game itself. So it was. We'll give a little breakdown of the game, but obviously Portugal, main thing, Portugal are through to the round of 16, and we'll face Belgium in Seville on Sunday, as we said. And in terms of the game itself, we have a little bit of a rundown there. Let me just get rid of this banner so we can see. So Portugal went ahead after 31 minutes, and at this point as well, something to point out, when Griezmann picked up the yellow card, I was thinking, France are going to get a man sent off here because within 40 minutes they had 3 yellow cards, and then that's it. Then the ref just didn't give another card until right at the end, until Kimpembe. And the first thing we've got to speak about is the Portugal penalty, which was a clear penalty. I thought the referee made a really good decision with that, and especially listening to the commentators and stuff talking about possibly going to VAR and could it be overruled. But it was clear as day for me whether he made the slightest touch of contact with the ball. He's came out, he's completely cleared out Danilo, and also the main thing is that he's okay. They didn't know whether he had a bit of concussion on the pitch, but he was obviously well enough to go back on the pitch and play for a while. And he was fine. He ended up coming off at half time. João Palhinha came on, whether that was precaution or tactical, but João Palhinha coming on was a fantastic thing to happen also, because he had a magnificent second half. But that was first penalty of the afternoon, and it was by no means the most controversial. That came on the stroke of half time. Karim Benzema scoring from the spot after Kylian Mbappe, I was going to say was fouled, but wasn't fouled. Kylian Mbappe went down, and a penalty was given, and France equalised, and at that point you're thinking momentum going into half time, especially, and what's that going to mean for Portugal going into the second half? And then we saw, as you can see there, 47th minute, I think Benzema, I saw someone post on Twitter, Benzema scored in the exact same minute in both halves. It was he scored in 40, it was like 46-33 in both halves, because he scored in the second half on 46, I think it was 46-33, and in the second half he scored on 46-33, and he put the clocks next to each other. Wow, why do these things always seem to happen to Portugal? And and to be honest, at that point I was nervous. I know you said before you wasn't particularly nervous throughout the game, but at that point I was thinking the rest of this game is just going, especially with the way things were going in terms of Portugal not going through, and you're thinking, how can you go from top of the group to bottom of the group? Like, that's just the most Portugal thing ever. Or at 2-1, tell us how were you feeling then? Because you said you weren't particularly nervous, but what about then? What about when France rattled home that second?
When Benzema scored, I thought, when am I going to switch to BBC Two to watch Germany game, because we're gonna have to depend on them. So if at 80 minutes still like this, I'm gonna switch channel and watch the other game. No, but about the first half, no, a bit more serious. About the first half, I liked a few things. I liked the fact that we tried to have more ball in comparison to the Germany game. So it was clear that you tried to have the ball and control the midfields. Love that. Like the fact as well, there was a 4-1-4-1, so not the Renato Sanches in this case and Danilo were not side by side. Danilo was clearly behind as a pivot. Like that as well. Like the fact that he took a page from Conceição's book, which is bring your wingers back to defend the fullbacks if we have to. So a lot of times it was like a 6-3-1 actually, because Bernardo Silva and Jota were coming back with the fullbacks of France, which they were not. They're both centre backs in reality, so it makes it a lot easier to defend. But still, fair play to that. And then what Moutinho gives to the team, Moutinho misses a pass is crazy. The difference we saw that against Germany when he came on, and we saw it today. The difference that he makes is unbelievable, really. Yeah. And then fair play to Renato Sanches. In my view, he should have started, but I said after the Germany game that I would never put him in the middle, because I think he gets attracted to the ball too quickly and he doesn't understand the game completely. But to be fair, done very well in the middle today, and that made Danilo and then Palhinha, Renato Sanches and João Moutinho made Griezmann pick up the ball quite far from the middle, so going very well wide to receive the ball, and that would be the key thing for us to do. So I really enjoyed the first half. I think we completely controlled the game. The penalty, obviously, for Benzema goals was a shame. But
that's
apart
the key
from
word,
that,
isn't it? Control,
we controlled the game with the ball. And even when we didn't have the ball, there was not many times where France was clearly creating danger. There was a Mbappe one way.
Ball every time. It was the same ball into Mbappe.
It was Pogba's. To be fair, Pogba did a very good game for France.
Yeah. When he got on the ball. Did well to close him down. I think in the second, in the first and the second half. But as you say, he's the talisman. And when he got on the ball in the first half, you saw exactly what he can do when he pulls off them passes. And there was the Rui Patricio save when he sort of goes to shoot and then sort of reloads, puts it, brings it out, just gives himself that yard and then hits it. And such a danger man. But I thought, to be honest, he did have a good game, but I thought Portugal did well to nullify him, because he could have completely ran that game and sort of ran away with it if Portugal weren't disciplined in the midfield. First half, as you say, control is the key word. I think I text you the word control. I was like, it never looked in doubt. That same pass into Mbappe, and the commentator laughed and commented on it and said, you can't call it route one, because they say you can't call it route one. It's the obvious route, which obviously when you've got pace in behind and when you're playing against especially if you're trying to sort of target the central defenders and you're trying to get on maybe Pep's side. But I thought they did well to sort of read, what France were trying to do. Don't let them have too much ball in the midfield. And as you just mentioned there, some of the names there, João Moutinho just oozing class. I mean, into his late 30s, still brings that element of control to the midfield, which Portugal have lacked a little bit at times. And then Renato Sanches, completely sort of different type of player, but aggressive without the ball, but so good when he was on it. There was a point where he took the pass in and sort of like miscontrolled it, but then managed to get his body back in the way, took the ball, took it past someone else, and then got a foul. And it was like that. He's very such a tenacious player, whilst also being super talented on the ball. Some of the switches that he was hitting, the cross field passes, he hit one into the box, which towards Ronaldo, I think was the one where he leapt for it, but nothing came of it. But he was outstanding. I think to be honest, in that first half, there wasn't many Portugal players that didn't put 100% of a shift in. Our man Filipe, Bernardo Silva, finally came to the Euros, came to life in that first half. I thought on a couple of different occasions you could see it's like someone had lit a fire underneath him. I saw some people on Twitter and stuff saying he still didn't have the greatest of hearts. I thought he played well. I
liked his first half.
When he had the ball, he was reverting back to what he's good at, is dribbling. I mean, they call him bubblegum for a reason. We haven't saw that so far. He's looked a little bit lethargic, a little bit tired, and a little bit frustrated. But first half, he looked focused. He looked on it. When he had the ball, you couldn't get it off him. And without the ball, defensively, brilliant as well. But a fantastic first half, and then the second half was a little bit of a different story. It was a weird half, second half.
We start really poorly because the Benzema goal is a big mistake from Ruben Dias and Pep. So basically, it is, if there's no pressure on the ball, we cannot keep a high line because you're inviting runs in behind. And what happens there is, first, Pogba shouldn't have that space on the ball, and he has quite a lot of space. In that case, should have been Moutinho or Jota to go and put him under pressure. Allows the ball, but if there's none under pressure, Ruben Dias and Pep take too long to drop. And because they take too long to drop, when they start dropping, Benzema is already running in behind Ruben Dias, and Pep is too far away to cover him. So that was a big... it's like those goals that happen in the first few minutes of the half because the team doesn't come in, switch on, and that was a shame because it's a stupid goal to concede, really. Then just before that, on the penalty that Benzema scored, did you see Pep with Rui Patricio?
And then
he couldn't make it any more clear. He looked like a cartoon. He only had to bring like a notebook saying go to your right.
And did you see after the ball winning?
He's moaning at him like, I told you.
I was telling you. If you haven't saw that, I mean, to be fair, because I didn't notice it during the game because I think like the way the camera was, and it was only when it was a BBC picked up on it, and I was laughing so much. He says like
so
he's
funny,
going, get across, and he just completely ignores him. I don't know why. I mean, he's watched them take, how many penalties, but thankfully it didn't. It didn't mean Portugal were going out. So it's a lot easier being able to sort of laugh at these moments. And even like the penalty itself, the decision, I was absolutely livid when it got given. But even at that point, I'm thinking 1-1. we came into this, a draw is still a fantastic result. It was I was fuming, but at the same time, I thought if we play like we did in the first half, this is fine. Easily get another goal or take a draw. As soon as Benzema scored in the second half, I was then back to kicking off about the penalty in the first half and about how it completely changed the complexion of the tie and all these, which it did in fairness. But I mean, the second half was weird for me because, as you say there, Filipe, after the goal, it isn't that long until Ronaldo then scores the equaliser. But in my head, it felt so long that we were behind for so long, but it wasn't. I think he scored on like 60 minutes, like 15 minutes. Yeah. So, but I think because of the permutations at that point, and then getting the news in that Germany had scored, and then literally 30 seconds later, Hungary scored from the kickoff. You're like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Germany are going to go through after losing to Hungary, but luckily that wasn't the case. And then you had that sort of period and I was laughing watching the game when we were speaking about the Spain game in Euro 2004 and when we were talking about talking about that's it, we're both through. And towards the end of that game, when it was just sort of passing it around, and the commentator was like, you can tell both teams are happy. And
the last 5, it reminded me, like we spoke about it as well, it reminded me like the Hungary game in 2016 when like the last 20 minutes nothing happens because they're like, we both go through, I'm pretty sure, so let's just keep it. No, but I thought you were going to say when Ruben Dias looks like he's explaining Ronaldo, like, right now we good. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Then at half time, after Benzema's just scored this controversial penalty, him and Ronaldo, they swap shirts at half time, and they're like walking in the tunnel, and he's speaking, and then he sees the camera, and he's definitely just going, yeah, chill out now, we're good, you're top of the group, we're set, like that's fine, because the players as well, they could hear exactly what was happening in the Germany game, and the commentator kept picking up and saying, in about, you'll hear the news filter through, and you heard, and because obviously there's so many Hungary fans in the stadium. That then to the Portugal players are going into it thinking, if Germany win, we can get battered here. Like, if it's in the awful circumstances that does happen, like France turn up and just are absolutely rampant, but then hearing the Hungary fans cheer, they must be thinking, right, now we've got to get something. Like, but I think first half, Portugal definitely deserved to go in the lead, and I think that the penalty did sort of change. Someone said earlier it changed the complexion. And second half, it was a cheap goal, to be honest. It was you say what you want about the pass and the finish, but it was it was a sloppy goal to give away. It was avoidable, and then we had to count on Sao Patricio once again, and
what a save.
That's a double save. Said on Twitter yesterday, there's a reason why he's got himself a statue. And I saw Portugal, the official Portugal account, tweeted out earlier, said things to take from yesterday's game, and they had like a list of things, and one of them was like Patricio asking for a second statue or something along those lines, as putting his claim forward for another statue, and no, he was brilliant when called upon with those saves, because that really kept, especially with the way the game was going at that point. And then, the second goal goes in for Portugal. Ronaldo again, record breaker. I think I saw somewhere someone said officially there was like 18 different records that he's broke since being at this Euros. Like, because there's so many different records now. It's like most goal scorers, like most goals to be scored by a player under like whatever. There's so many different things.
To be fair, there's records I never heard about.
Yeah.
I never heard no one speaking like, the European goal scorer, the most goals scorer in Euros in World Cups. Like, I never had no one combining that.
Combining the two. Because then
like
what about
a
like
new thing?
Yeah, and then there's like total international goals. So like you're including like Nations League, and then for the South American players, it's like Copa America but just the main record. Well, he's broke a couple of main records, but the main record yesterday was most international goals ever, which is just incredible. He's tied at 109 international goals with Ali Dai from Iran, and he's on 14 which is the most European championship goals. And then the record there, he's the first player to score 20 plus goals in the Euros and World Cup combined. He's got 7 goals in the World Cup. Neither have I, but it's another record for him. So, why not deny him of it? And yeah, I mean, to be honest, obviously you see the same things, especially when you go on social media, regarding like the penalties and stuff. But didn't they said it was, I think they were doing the preview before the game, or it might have been after the Spain game, and they said like for the European Championships, this is like had the most missed penalties out of like any tournament so far, like per game, like the ratio so far, and so many players have been missing. And you think, players like especially him and Bruno Fernandes, players who just score penalties, who can convert penalties, for some reason get slandered and criticised. But I'd definitely rather have someone on the team who can score a penalty in a moment like that, where you've won the first one to put you ahead and the second one to equalise and give your country the chance to go through, when at that point you were staring sort of down the battle of going home and finishing bottom in the group. So yeah, Portugal have got a player there who carries the weight of his nation on his shoulders when it comes to taking a penalty, and he can do it well. Why would you criticise him over that? Because there's plenty of players who, when the pressure's on, would miss. He's not one of them. So credit to him, record breaker.
I'm pretty sure he might be a record as well of more penalties scored in the Euros. I don't know. I'm just putting out.
Probably.
Go and find it.
Are you just going to start creating records?
Yeah. I'm thinking of things they can be doing.
Most penalties scored by a man whose name begins with a C, who was born on an island.
Most goals for goals per touch per goals ratio. Because it doesn't touch the ball much, so it must be up there.
No. Yeah. I mean, it's a difficult one to research. We were speaking about the midfield before, and we in terms of, you can see the players that came on there. So if we start at the start of the game, so Danilo Pereira goes off, João Palhinha came on. It was fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And then on 72, 73. You had Bernardo Silva go off, Bruno Fernandes come on, and then Ruben Neves come on for his.
I didn't get
club teammate.
That one. I was
you didn't get the
very annoyed when that one. No, not the João Moutinho. The João Moutinho makes sense. He's getting tired. Ruben Neves is a player that's able to keep the ball very well as well. So I was not very shocked in that one. I was shocked with the Bruno Fernandes for Bernardo Silva, not because you could see clearly that Bernardo Silva was getting tired, but why did he bring Bruno Fernandes on? In my head, at that moment, we say, the game is balanced. I know, like, there was kind of the agreement there. There was a moment there was nothing happening in the match, but I'm thinking they don't play with the left back. Rabio is playing there. Bring some pace in there. Let's create something in there, or bring Jota to this side if you don't wanna. But ask him questions. Nothing happened, and Bruno Fernandes on the right as a right mid. What's he gonna do? Not much,
nearly gave away a penalty.
He almost gave away a penalty. Oh, that's another thing. Like in England, I don't know, some people might be listening to us and they're not from England, but in England, there's a big thing against VAR. And they say that in these Euros, the VAR is working really well. It's not working, period. There's nothing that goes to VAR. Yesterday, we had 2 cases clear that it should have been gone. One in our favor and one against us. But they are clear. The penalty, Benzema penalty is not a penalty. But in the end, Bruno Fernandes' one is clear.
It's a penalty.
He clips him, and it's like
I watching it. I was like, and I thought in my head, is that the referee Lahores? I was thinking, is he balancing things out here? Because he said, did you see the comments Fernando Santos made after the game? He said that Lahores said to him, it was a mistake. It wasn't a penalty. Sorry.
Yeah, like I guess, but that's the thing. Like he can use the technology say that after the game, but like there's a VAR to look at that. After like, fact, isn't that the job?
Whole point. Yeah.
So I don't understand.
Yeah, they say it's because VAR gets very involved in England, and the fact now it's the complete opposite in the Euros. VAR is just asleep now. So people are like, isn't it great the way it doesn't get involved and ruin the game? Yeah, but
he's not doing anything.
No one's using it. This should have been used yesterday in I mean, like for offsides and stuff. the people have commended or when
but there's like the obvious one, isn't it? Like
exactly, because you can just go back and say, is it offside? No.
Yeah.
Is it onside? Yes. Then, but with things like that, and asking the referee to go to the monitor, and referees not wanting to go to the monitor and stick them with the original decision. That's why the technology's there, is to help. That penalty doesn't get given for France. Portugal go in, and then you still sort of, France obviously come out all guns blazing anyway, but their next goal is only an equaliser. But instead, Portugal are down 2-1 after 46 minutes. So it does, and then the end, that was, I mean, when he came on, I was nervous as well, because it felt like when he was on the ball, I was nervous. I was thinking, don't give it away. Like, just because don't give it away.
Now he feels like in his head, he feels that he needs to prove something, because he came to these Euros as being the second player for Portugal after Ronaldo, after the season he had at United. And it didn't work for him in the first game. It didn't work for him in the second game. For one reason that I think is very simple to understand, which is in the position that he plays as a number 10, he likes to have a striker that pushes the back four further and further away. And that creates space for him. And in this case, it's the completely opposite, because he has a striker, Ronaldo, that comes to feet. So he brings centre-backs and takes him all this space around.
There's less space. So there's less space for him to operate.
So it happens quite... it's a consequence of the players he has around. But now he feels like he has something to prove. And he came in so rushed. Like, there's a few controls that he misplaces, to passes that don't work. Then the situation at the end, you think, oh...
That's the key word you've just said there, is rush. It felt... Got to get on the pitch, got to do as much as I can while I'm here. I've got to make sure that if Portugal get through, I'm in a starting lineup in the next game. But it just everything looked a little bit forced. And I was just, I mean, that moment at the end, it's like, oh my word, please don't. But yeah, just to go back on so they were sort of the midfield changes, and obviously the Renato Sanches stayed on pretty much the entire game, and then Sergio Oliveira came on, trying obviously at that point the game was pretty much done. But so we had, in terms of, I mean, you just see the names aren't on these, but that is, I mean, I think you can guess who that is. 95 touches. The boy, Renato.
Oh, do you want me to guess, Renato?
Yeah, he was very, but I mean, you can tell just even by just the colour of the heat map, just how many touches. And then this was that was João Moutinho, and then that was Danilo Pereira. But I mean, when I was just looking through the heat maps and looking at sort of like the individual highlights of him, and I was just so impressed with him. And I've already touched on him a couple of times, but as you say, and people do have the sort of reservations, especially tactical discipline, going in and playing in that position in such a high stakes game as well. But just felt he looked like someone who just wanted it more. He was even when he was losing out on passes, even losing out in possession, like a sloppy touch, he was getting there ahead. He was getting his body in the way. He was winning fouls. He was winning free kicks. He was getting Portugal up the pitch. His passing range was very good. I was very impressed. And he's constantly asking for the ball. Never hard. Never. I mean, you see there 95 touches, and in comparison to even with the France players, he was. He wanted to be the one on the ball making decisions. He wanted to be the one that was influencing the play, which you can't buy that, because some players have responsibility, especially in a game like that, might weigh a little bit on the shoulders. But I think a lot of people have been calling him for him to start, but I actually think that the fact that he didn't start in the other two games was a benefit for him yesterday, because it was like gradually been getting more and more minutes. People are now, you're now growing in confidence, because it could go the other way. You could start the first game and not have a good game at all, and then you're working them backwards. Whereas with him, it feels a little bit like 2016, when as the tournament was gradually going on. I feel like we're just being taken back to 2016 again. We've finished third. Renato Sanches is this new name on everyone's lips as well, in the same way he was in 2016, because I mean, I think people in England have just completely forgot that he's existed for the past how many years. I mean, I don't know how many times I heard the reference that he was on loan at Swansea yesterday. It's like, is that people's only reference point outside of Portugal? Is this? I mean, outside Portugal, outside France, and outside Germany, everyone else's references like people on Twitter, it's crazy to see him doing so well because he was so poor at Swansea. It's like you're writing him off for going on a loan spell where apparently he really, really didn't want to be there. He wasn't
Who wants to
fit.
Exactly. Who wants to go from Bayern Munich to play Swansea?
Playing in a team where you not only is geographically have you changed, you've moved from Munich and you're now in Swansea, and it must have felt a little bit like everything it just came crashing down because you think he won the Golden Boy, won the Euros, was hot off a fantastic season when he was in the side for Benfica, then went to Bayern. Things take time at a club like that. You're not always going to hit the ground running. But then that loan as well, especially to a team who are playing towards the bottom of the table and fighting, it's just not really a smart move for him.
And he got injured as well when he
exactly he had the injury
problems.
And I think that being the reference point for people who aren't aware is just like, as I say, to go back to my original point, it's like 2016 again because people are seeing this player and going, "Who's that?" Like. Renato Sanches, is he the one from 2016? Like, as if like he's this, he's been, well, I mean, for the last 2 seasons, he's been fantastic. He's really been on top of his game. And then, what other notable, in fact, probably going to get done with a copyright for this, but we just need to watch this. Aaron's learned how to put videos into the stream now, so BBC, if you're watching this, don't sue me. But
more through the legs of Paul Pogba.
I think that deserves another watch. It deserves another watch.
Once more through the legs of...
That was naughty. And to be fair, like we said, we were talking about it earlier, which was straight after getting done by Pogba as well. When this Pogba hits and there's a double save from Patricio and there's a little rollover. And it was like, what a way to get him back.
Yeah,
no, but Pedro needs to start. There's no question. There was no question before we spoken about it. But now he plays against France and he has no big issues, and there is no way they doesn't play on Sunday. Should we move on to preview that one?
We covered the game quite extensively. Belgium won all 3 games, 3-0 versus Russia, 2-1 versus Denmark, and 2-0 versus Finland. Lukaku's got 3 goals in 3 games. I've looked good. I saw 2 of the games, but I didn't see the game. I think it was the game against Finland. I didn't see the last group game.
I didn't see that one either.
Yeah, I didn't see that. But Belgium, they've been playing well. They've been scoring goals, but then at the same time, what I think is a big benefit to the fact that Portugal played in or got put in Group F, and I said this when the draw was done, when you go through a group like that, if you manage to come out of it relatively unscathed, I mean, the Germany game wasn't great, but the France game, Portugal with a better side for maybe 60, 70 minutes, or 50, 60 minutes if we're being, is definitely in the first half. They put 3 goals past the Hungary side, which gave both Germany and France a really difficult challenge. And then you come up against a side like Belgium or any of the other sides that are still in the competition who win in Group F, the likes of Italy or Holland or England or whoever it may be. I feel like playing against the world champions and playing against, Germany and receiving a little bit of a humbling from Germany sort of removes that fear factor a little bit, because you're looking at the teams that Belgium have played and you think, they've played well, but they haven't came up against a Germany, and they haven't came up against a France, they haven't came up against a Portugal. And obviously you can't forget Hungary as well. They really gave this group a run for the money. So I do feel like when you've played against a side like France and you played so well, and the game might have turned a little bit after that, but you think if that penalty doesn't get given, then that could be a really comfortable afternoon for Portugal. You take that confidence into the games against, again, Belgium, Italy, whoever it may be, then you think, well, France are the outright favourites for the entire thing. They're apparently the greatest footballing nation in the world at the moment. They're going to steamroll every opposition. You think, well, Portugal really held them more than held their own against France. So then it does, I feel like it removes the fear factor a little bit. I don't know how you feel, whether you agree with that, but obviously there's still strong teams in the competition. People are looking to teams like Italy who are having a really good tournament. But I don't know. I just feel like you've got to play the best sides eventually. And Portugal have played against two of the best sides in the competition in the groups. They've drawn one, lost one, but the results could have been a lot better. So yeah, I mean, what do you think? Thoughts on Belgium first of all?
I have loads of stuff. First of all, if the chance that we win the Euros is going to be the completely opposite that what happened in 16, which is 16 we have the easiest route ever to the final. This one, if we get to the final, will be the hardest one ever. Second one, what leaves me a bit of positive is the fact that the environment where we're going to be playing, which is we've been playing quite warm weather in Budapest. Seville is very, very warm as well. And Belgium have been playing in Copenhagen and St. Petersburg, which is a lot colder. So that will be a big impact. Now, about the game itself, what worries me is what Tomas is saying, which is the wing-backs. And thinking about what we suffer against Germany was exactly that. And Belgium play with a 3-4-3, where the wing-backs are in the right Meunier and on the left Carrasco or Torgan Hazard. And that's a big worry. But to be fair, if that happens again, then there's no excuses really, because they will be playing in exactly some way that Germany played against us. So
got to be prepared for it.
Yeah, we need to be prepared for it because we already played that game before. So that will be my biggest worry, which is how we're gonna deal with it. And is it gonna? It feels like it's gonna be the same game again, and I don't know if he's gonna drop Bernardo Silva and put someone that is able to cover better. If he's gonna actually now ask one of the defensive midfielder to drop between the centre backs.
A lot of people have suspected that might be one of the.
But for that to happen, if his Palhinha is not going to work, so for that to happen needs to be Danilo, because Palhinha is a player that goes out and likes to press higher and go into tackles and getting in the game, and he's not able to drop between the centre backs. That is not his game. Danilo, yes, Neil will be perfect for that because obviously he plays a centre back in PSG, and he doesn't like to come off his place to press a bit higher. Palhinha likes to. So if we can know straight away before the game when the team news come out what's Portugal way of dealing with the pressure. If it's Palhinha there, then the idea is to follow the full backs or the wing backs in this case, and defend with them coming back like close what we did against France. If he plays with Danilo there, then he might be actually Danilo dropping back between the two centre backs and allowing the full backs to go and press the wing back. So we will know before the game how we're going to deal with it. But the most important thing is how we're going to be dealing with the ball. Because if the plan will be dropping and not having the ball against Belgium, it's not going to work, because eventually Kevin De Bruyne especially will find a way.
He's going to get on it. He's going to.
That's why he does. That's why he does
for City.
Yeah, it's why he used to play the whole season against the team that drops and stays far back, and he just has time on the ball to find killer passes. So if that's the plan, we're never going to work. So we need to have the ball, because the other way to play against Belgium in this case would be, okay, when they have the ball, trying to press quite high on the pitch, because the centre backs are what we can exploit, but we don't have players to do that. Ronaldo is not a player that goes out and press, so that's not going to work. So you need to think in a game in breaking into ways, which is when we don't have the ball, try to drop and deal with the wing backs, moving the Danilo off the fullback or having our wingers to drop. But most importantly is trying to actually maintain possession for long periods of time, because otherwise it's going to be hard. But to be honest, and I don't want to be a bummer to anyone, but I don't think we have a chance, because we're not able. There's so many things that I don't see us dealing well. I don't think we deal well with wing backs. I don't think we are able to control the game with the ball for long periods of time. We're not able to press high. The only player that's able from the front three to exploit the spaces that will be between centre back and wing back is Jota, which is on our left hand side. And then the problem is the quickest wing back, or the most defensively, the better one defensively of the wing backs is actually the right wing back, which is Meunier. On the left, Bernardo Silva is not going to exploit that space. Ronaldo is not going to exploit that space because they have an extra centre back to follow him. So it's like what we know how to do and what we could do, they are better to deal with that.
The tools to be able
and the things they have doing really well is the things that we struggle the most to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be a little bit more positive because I think, but definitely that Germany game will have served as a, I said it before, is a humbling. Know exactly what Belgium are going to bring to the table, but yeah, as you say, Philippe, I mean, you're right in terms of knowing what a team's going to do and knowing how a team's going to play is one thing, but then being able to actually be proactive and stop it. And also, the one thing that does worry me a little bit is that if it becomes immediate that the way that we've set up isn't the right way, because, you know, as you say, you can go one of two ways. Are we going to be tactically flexible enough to be able to proactively change things as they're happening, or rather than, because sometimes Portugal
we had the answer against Germany.
we just leave it, and then even when we do change, it's like, yeah, but that change wasn't the right change, and even if it was the right change, it didn't work. So it's one of those. I mean, suppose it's that's why, you know, that's why a lot of people love football. Is it's going to be a game of chess. You're not going to see exactly how the game's going to pan out until it starts, because we know how sort of both teams are going to want to react to each other. But anything can happen. I mean, I've got my fingers crossed. I mean, I wouldn't like to be honest, in terms of teams, I'd rather have played against a team who play a more conventional back four, because I'd rather play with someone who sets up like France than a Belgium. But so it is a little bit tricky that Portugal have came up against the one side they've lost against in the Euros. Just another version of them.
Better version of it.
Yeah, except they've got Kevin De Bruyne in the midfield. And they
have Lukaku.
Which
is a player that we love to, because Lukaku, I imagine a lot of Lukaku, because the way that Belgium plays is quite easy to predict. So the big difference, and to be fair, is quite important to point out, which is the way that Germany found us was with switch play quite quickly, from bringing everyone to the right-hand side and switch it to the left where Guzans was free. Belgium is not going to do that so often, because what they actually like to do is, when a team drops a low, they will have one of the centre-backs to actually take the ball out, to try to ping one of our centre mids to come out and press. And when that happens, the ball goes actually to feed to the wing back, and then trying to find Lukaku that comes short to receive, turn, and then create. Or find De Bruyne to find a pass to Lukaku in the middle. So that was what's going to happen. So in a way, it's better for us, because we're not going to be so exposed on the other side. And if that's our idea, and a player like Renato Sanches or Palhinha are able to come out and press higher, if he's in the right timing, it might work. The problem is, if he doesn't go in the right timing and they take too long, then it's easy to find the back of the centre mids. And then if a centre back comes and tries to win the ball to Lukaku, it's impossible, because he's so strong to able to hold on defenders and then turn on them. So it's gonna be hard. To be fair, it was two teams. Yeah, there was two teams I didn't want to play against. It was Belgium and Netherlands, to be fair, from the ones that could be our potential opponents, because of the reason of the wing backs and the fact that our last experience is not positive whatsoever.
I just hope that can save as, because if we hadn't came up against the team with the back three so far in the tournament, and we've just went along nice and pretty, played against back fours and did relatively well, and then came up against a back three in the round of 16 and got slapped out of the competition. At least now it's a little bit like, right, get the film out, get the Germany game out. We need a plan. This has got, as soon as the game is finished, or even during the game, the coaches, and especially Fernando Santos in his head, he's thinking, I know exactly. They'll have they'll have a plan. Whether the plan will work, but they'll have a plan set up for when they play whoever they play.
Think he had the plan against Germany as well.
He had a plan against Germany as well.
He pointed a few times, but we just didn't care, basically.
Like Pep with Patricio, we just didn't listen. The sides of the final, the sides of the competition on the route to the final is a little bit lopsided. So on the round of 16, on the left-hand side, you've got Italy versus Austria. The other game, Belgium versus Portugal. And then the winner of those two sides meet each other. And then the other brackets on the left-hand side, you've got France and Switzerland, and Croatia and Spain. So just in there, I mean, Italy, Austria, Belgium, Portugal, France, Croatia, Spain, Switzerland. And on the right-hand side, you've got Sweden versus Ukraine, England versus Germany, which will be a
It's
good
going to be a
game,
good one.
I imagine. Though the winner of those two meets each, so Sweden or winner of Sweden Ukraine will play winner of England or Germany, and then in the other two games it's Wales versus Denmark and Netherlands versus Czech Republic. So the winner of those.
Netherlands
so I mean,
has the best draw.
they'll be if they beat Czech Republic and then play either Wales or Denmark in the next round, and then they'll face probably going to be Germany.
Their
Isn't it, in the
first big game, if
quarterfinals?
they are able to obviously to get there, will be the semi-finals against
Yeah.
probably England or Germany, the one that goes through on that one.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's always a surprise, and then like 5 years ago was Wales win against Belgium when no one was really expecting it. In 18 was Russia beating Spain, so it's always a surprise. Hopefully, the surprise will be Austria beating Italy, and we facing Austria in the last 8. That would be surprising,
Switzerland knocking out France.
That's too much.
I've got Switzerland as well in the. We did a sweepstakes with some of my mates, and I got Switzerland. So I think not the greatest, but they've got themselves this far. They need to do me a favour and knock out France as well. But just as we're nearing the end, definitely don't want to look ahead. I just want to look to this Belgium game because, I mean, since you spoke about it, you've put this. I was feeling really positive after yesterday, but I mean, it's that's the thing is, it's not even. It doesn't take this like a genius to work out basically what they're good at and what we're bad at. You sort of put them together. It's like
you just need to think about last week.
Yeah, it's like like the immovable object and the unstoppable force. Well, with us, it's the immovable object and the very stoppable force, the very easily stopped force meeting together. So I mean, you just hope they have an off day and hope we just stick to the task, and every single player knows exactly what their role is. Whatever game plan Portugal decide to go with, I think they're going to go with Danilo dropping in between the two central defenders, to be honest, and making sort of like a back three, and then using the fullbacks, because that's, as you say, he's actually quite reluctant at times to come out with the ball, and he likes to know what his task is, know what his role is, and stick to it. He's done that this season at Paris Saint-Germain when he's played, so this is a little bit more of what he likes, more what he's used to. Whether Portugal go with that, I'm not too sure. I think either way, it'll rely on us stopping Belgium from being good, basically, and then trying to take advantage of that, and trying to stop them play. And you got someone like, I think Kevin De Bruyne was on the bench for one of the games, and then he came on and just completely changed the game.
It was the game against Denmark.
Just
that
ran
second
the show.
half, it was
unbelievable.
But that's the thing. You look at looking at this tournament. The only time that Belgium struggled was the first half against Denmark, and what they did really well was in the first half was a lot of energy, able to press really high on the pitch, and found out the centre backs not being so strong. And that's the thing. That are we able to do that? We're not, because we don't have the players to do it. So
Gonzalo Guedes and Rafa Silva are going to be playing as two false nines. Fernando Santos are going to completely rip up the rule book. Ronaldo on the bench. He said, "No, you're not beating the record. No, I'm going to go with
they'll be tricky, but I guess like the most important things will be define the areas where you're going to start pressing the ball and trying to force them go, deciding them early which way of the pitch they're going to use, because that way you can bring the center mids quite close together and still be compact. And if the switch happens, then dealing with it better. The switch needs to happen to feet, not to space, because otherwise it will have problems again. And the difference is that in this case, instead of being the wing back on the left that goes really high, what they do is actually they bring the wing back inside, and is the left forward that stay very wide. So like on the right is Munir that opens, but on the left is Carrasco that stays open and allows Hazard to come in. So that little switch might make it
even mentioned them.
Tricky to defend as well, because if our winger drops, and that's the idea, if the winger drops and he gets dragged into the middle, then will be pointless, because the problem will still be there, still open on the left hand side. So, but that's the cool thing. Like straight in the beginning, going to know what's going to happen. That's the type
I mean,
of game. It was like against Germany. On the first 5 minutes, you knew that we had no
the
chance.
game was panned out. Yeah, it was already panned. Well, I hope after 5 minutes we think, right, we'd
deal with
love
this well.
this. That would, you'd absolutely love that. But to be honest, that's us pretty much done. I think group stage got out of the group of death. And obviously going into this tournament with a bit more of a weight of expectation on the shoulders, not only because of an ultra talented squad, but the fact you go in with the tag of European champions, which is something Portugal have never had. When the draw was made, you're thinking get out of that group and get out of it alive. Doesn't matter. So someone said yesterday about finishing third. Literally did not care where we finished. Third is no less than finishing second, to be honest, because
would be so much difference in this case, though. Imagine us playing England.
If we'd have finished first, we played Switzerland.
I didn't want to finish first because Switzerland would be fine, but then we had Spain anyway, and I don't think Spain was only good in 2004, and apart from that, it's been painful. But
and that game the other day, even the 0-0 was it was hard to watch.
So hard to watch, yeah.
England
but if we finish second, it would be amazing because it would be England, a team that I'm not really like. They have a good strikers and forwards, but it looks like Southgate doesn't really know how to use them, so it's not. It would be not a big problem. And then if we would go past England, then we have an easier, in theory, obviously easier quarterfinals, and the semi-finals would be against Netherlands. Which, to be fair, even between Netherlands and Belgium, I prefer to play Netherlands because they have very good players, but terrible manager. So,
also, I mean if you had to pick one of the two, the lesser of the two evils, isn't it? But so I mean, we'll be back doing. Well, hopefully we'll be back after the Belgium game. I don't know if we'll be doing an immediate one or whether we'll be doing like a next day.
It will depend on the score.
It will depend on the score.
And if it goes to penalties, imagine if it goes to penalties, finish like at midnight.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit
for this.
So possibly the next day give you something to lots of people have been dropping in. I think with these streams as well, we have a lot of catch-up watchers, especially because we've got a big audience in like North America, United States, Canada. So as I say, this will go straight up on YouTube. Sorry, the full live stream, so you can go back and watch it. And and if you've watched it now and you want to rewatch it, then we salute you for wanting to listen to us twice.
And I'm sorry, Aaron, to make you feel sad. It feels like it's the opposite of what happened after Germany when you started like this and then you finished happy, and now you started bubbling and happy, and I'm like, you have no chance against Belgium.
I'm gonna rewatch the Quaresma goal against Belgium, and
that's a good thing.
That'll cheer me up. Right, thank you everyone who's joined in. Joao, thanks for the comments. Everyone who's left the comments that we've put on the screen, discussed. Every comment is fantastic. Don't worry about it. Daily Dose of Football. It's it'll go live. Well, I keep saying it'll go live. It'll go straight up on YouTube. The entire live stream will go on as soon as we've ended it. So you've actually came at a good time, because as soon as we end it, you can just click 0-0 and just start right again. And perfect. Right. Thank you for joining us and taking the time out to watch. Filipe, I'll see you.
Yeah.
See you on Sunday or Monday. It'll depend.
Hope so. Hope Sunday, mate. That'll be a good sign.
See you later. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Right.